Hey, what's up? Today I got a little project here. It's our Can Am Maverick Trail 2018, the standard 50-inch wide version. What I had to do was replace the front steering rack, so I'm going to kind of go over this machine and what I did here. Okay, first I'm going to show you, this is the rack that I took off. Now I want to do a little overview. This is my wife's machine. This machine has 800 miles on it. 800 miles on it. It's never on poker runs, nothing like that. We use it at the house for little trail rides and take it to camp for leisurely trail rides. Never been mud bogged, maybe in 8 inches of mud the most. It does do a creek crossing when we go to camp, probably 12 to 18 inches of water. But I want to show you what I found here. I noticed there was a lot of slop in the rack and pinion. Well, when I pulled the boot off, you can see this mud. This thing was literally, it gushed out of here. When I cut this bolt loose and pulled it off, you can see this mud slash water and everything else. And I'll show you here how much play is in this. Let me get the camera up here. See if I can show you here. You can see, I don't know if you can see, I'm trying to get it, but there's probably 3/16 of an inch slop up and down on this bar, and even this shaft up here, it goes about a 1/16 of an inch back and forth. But you can see there's still water and muck dripping out of this thing here. But you can see, just look, it's just full of mud and water, even though it comes with these zip ties from the factory on it right here. So it still gets water and it's sucked in it somewhere. I mean, there's no holes in these boots anywhere, but that's why it wore out. And I ordered a factory Can-Am one from Rocky Mountain ATVMC. It was $328 shipped. I think Revzilla had them for $315, but I got it from Rocky Mountain because I get points that it's still pouring gunk out of there. Now, I didn't video me putting it on. It is kind of a bitch because you have no room in here to work. You know, you got to take your tie rods loose. It's so hard for me to video for you to see it. And you have the steering rod coming down with the U-joint and a clamp that goes on it. You have to take one bolt out of there. And the rack only has 4 bolts. You got these 2 long ones on the left side, driver's side, and these 2 short ones on the passenger side. The problem is, they're just a total bitch. Your nuts are up in here behind this, so you got to have a selection of extensions, elbows, ratchet wrenches, standard wrenches. I even, to make it easier, down below here in the skid plate, I literally cut out this small chunk so that I could put a long extension on the impact, and I put it up through there so that I could get it on the bolt. And even then, with that impact, I had to heat the nut to kind of soften up the plastic inside the lock nut to get it loose. That's kind of the tough thing. You can get on the bolts with wrenches and extensions to an extent, but the son of a bitches are tight, and the problem is you have no room to crank on the bolt to get it loose. But I did get them all loose and got them out. The rack, once you have all the bolts out and the clamp off from your steering column, it will slide right out. You can slide the new one in. It takes a little bit of finagling to get your joint up here with the clamp on it coming down from your steering wheel back on there. But once you get it like lined up, wiggle around, it'll pop right back on. You can get your bolt back through the splines. And one thing you want to make sure of when you get the new, this is what came with the new one. This is the old one, of course, but that's exactly what came. You have this assembly with no tie rods. That's what you get for 350 bucks. And they will have a yellow mark going down across the splines and onto the casing. You want to make sure you don't turn that, and you want to make sure your steering wheel is still perfectly straight, like you're driving down the road in the straight line. That way when you put your, and you don't want to turn your wheel at all, that way when you put your steering stem clamp on, it'll go right on here. You want to make sure that yellow line stays lined up. Now also I noticed on mine, there's a notch. You have two dots peened in here, one there, and it's hard to see. I'm trying even to see with my glasses. There's a little slot ground in there, peened in, which on mine they had the yellow paint on it, but that little gash in there also lined up with the dot on here. But just make sure you don't turn it when you're in there trying to line everything up. And I also made sure of where these nuts were. Like before I took these off, right there's where these nuts were. So I just, when I put it back on the machine, I turned the new nuts right to that same spacing with the threads. Now, of course, I will check the alignment once the tires are on. But I just want to let you know, I mean, how we noticed this is when you were going down the trail, if you were on a rocky trail, you felt all kind of clunking coming up through the steering wheel. And then, of course, I jacked it up, and you could wiggle the wheels back and forth probably a good 3/4 of an inch either way on both sides. And then while this was on the machine last week, I pulled this boot off, and you just see this thing slopping all over the place in here. So that's what it was, and we got it done. Got it put on. It was 350 bucks. Of course, I don't know what they would charge at the dealership, but it's been about 2 hours. I have it on. I'm going to throw the wheels on. I have to put my plow mount back on. I had to take my plow mount off, so get that thrown back on. But I have about 2.5 hours in it, so that'll give you an idea and kind of let you know what you're getting into. Remember to like, subscribe, get in your Can Am, get outside.